welcome to Brothers on the Board, the podcast where we become better teachers together. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Brothers on the Board. My name's John, and as always, I'm joined here with my brother Wes. And if you came for grouping strategies, you came to the right place today. So that's going to be the goal for this episode. We're going to be looking at creative ways that you can group your students and have them find success in groups. So let's get started. Let's not waste any time. Wes, tell me, are your seats in rows right now in your classroom?
They're not. My seats are in clusters.
Clusters?
Clusters, yes.
Clusters, okay.
Yeah, I'm in
clusters of how many?
Pods of 4. So there's
pods of
4 students to a group. They exclusively stay in that way until we take any summative assessment, and then it goes into rows. I never have rows.
So rows only for assessment.
Rows only for assessment days. Yes. When the kids,
my class is similar.
When the kids come in and they see the rows, they're like, "Oh no, we know what's happening today."
This day, no. Yeah, they do the same thing in our class. So we've experimented with a variety of different numbers when it comes to groups, right? We've looked at groups of 3, groups of 4, pairs, 1 or 2, 2. We've experimented with a variety of numbers, and I think I have landed. I think 3 is my number.
Really?
I think 3 is my number. Yeah. I think the reason is because I like the odd number, right? It's like Supreme Court justices, right? There has to be an odd number so that the group it gets swayed one way or another. They're never tied up and even. That's kind of where I've landed for now. I've had my groups of 3 for the last week or 2 or so, and it's actually seems like it's going well. So right now, that's where I've landed. I've landed on 3. Have you ever had yours in groups of 3, or can you? Do you have tables or do you have desks?
I have tables. Yeah, I have science tables. Yeah. So science tables make it a little bit more difficult, right? You're either pairs. You're staying even numbers for the most part, unless you stick a student at the end of the 2 tables. And then you have a group of 5. So,
or if you use 1 table, stick a kid at the end, and you could have a group of 3.
I could do that, but I don't know.
I wouldn't do that.
Something about the group of 3 just makes me feel uncomfortable. I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't know what it is.
You just don't like the number 3.
I don't like it. I don't care for it.
All right, fair enough.
I'm an even guy, so
I get it. So today we're going to be getting into a handful of grouping strategies that you can use to group your students in a way that is effective, engaging, creative, and hopefully makes your rooms run just a little bit smoother. So before we get started with that, we do have a request, as we've had the last couple of episodes. Would you please follow us on Facebook? We have picked up quite a few followers, actually, here recently, as we've been requesting. So for all of you who have followed it, we really, really appreciate it. All right, let's get into this. I'm ready to discuss this one, man, especially this first one. Number 1, Class Dojo. I love Class Dojo. And yes, I teach 7th grade, and I know there's a lot of people who are like, well, that's kind of an elementary. No, dude, we're designing our minions, we're playing them points, and we're using those tools for grouping strategies. Man, let me tell you, the grouping tool on the Class Dojo is so useful. So here's what you can do. You can get your class set up, list all your kids in Class Dojo, and then you can tell it who you don't want grouped together, right? You can say, do not group these students together, and then you just tell it, give me groups of 3 or 4, and then it spits out groups, and it doesn't group those kids together. So here's what I did. I kind of went the extra mile on this last seating chart. I basically conferenced with every kid. It was about a number of things they're writing and a few other things. And when I conferenced with them, I basically asked them, who can you in this room, can you just not work with? Really just can't do it. And, I had a couple of kids who were like, well, let me tell you. And they just started naming off 15 people. And I'm like, no. Top 4, top 3. I can't do that many. There was one kid, the system literally said, no, we can't. That's not numerically possible like it wasn't going to work. So, basically, it's spitting out all of these numbers, and the kids, for the most part, are pretty reasonable when they're giving me their numbers. They usually are just like, I'm going to talk to this kid way too much, or I play with this dude too much. They're usually pretty reasonable. And sometimes they'll be like, well, I got in a fight with that guy in the neighborhood like last week or whatever. And it's like, oh, she with him. We'll just nix that real quick. But it works really well. So once it gives you all the groups, I make sure to kind of start it the next day and they all come in. I've got it up on the board, shows where everybody is. And it also like gives you a printout sort of that has all the groups already listed. So all I have to do is number my groups and be like, hey, this is group 1, 2, 3, 4, and they know where to sit. They're not with anybody they don't want to sit with. It just goes really, really well. So I'm a huge fan of Class Dojo and the way that it is able to group kids. I would highly, highly recommend it. Now, with that being said, Wes, you got to tell me, how you feeling about Class Dojo?
I do not have any opinion on Class Dojo. You talk very highly of it, but I've never used it. So,
dude, I love it.
Is it so? So, does your district have a subscription? Is this a subscription that your district pays for?
No, Class Dojo is free.
It is completely free.
Yeah, anybody can use it. You jump in right now and use it.
Okay,
yeah, it's great.
See, I was always under the assumption that it was a like subscription based thing.
Nah, and it's got this new feature on it called Dojo Islands, and the kids they design their little avatar and they run around on the island and they can like build stuff together. It'll be kind of cool for science because it's like Minecraft lot sort of, and you can, as the teacher, you can set it up to where they can like build only on certain sections of the island, so they can construct buildings and houses and all that kind of stuff. Is really cool. But I mean, I like it mainly for tracking discipline, and I don't mean, I mean it's the same as any other like point-based system. You know what I mean? The thing I like about it is how it has a sound cue to it. When you give a positive point, it has the bling, it goes off really, really loud in the class.
Yeah.
And everyone knows that somebody just got a positive point, and they immediately get back to what they're supposed to be doing because it's like, oh, he's looking for like good things, right? So I think it's great. I'm a huge fan, and I want to keep on pushing Class Dojo everywhere I go. So
just your agenda for this, to push class.
That's the only reason I'm doing this podcast.
And that's it.
Is to just push Class Dojo onto everybody. Spread the word of Class Dojo. I'm going to tag Class Dojo on Twitter when we put this episode out. They need to know about this. They need to know that our podcast is here for them. We have their back.
Yeah, well, I use Infinite Campus, which is a program we use in Kentucky. I don't know if you use it in Ohio.
I know of it, but no, we don't.
Yeah, I use Infinite Campus. It has like all of our behavior data and stuff, that follows the students from year to year. So you have like all the referrals and stuff from, whenever, all the way back to kindergarten. So,
well, we have another system for that. That's a little more official. This is more like, I want to give you a reward kind of thing.
Yeah. But I mean, I use it for grouping. It does groups as well.
Oh, okay.
It's like if I had a system that I used for grouping, it would be the system I used for grouping, and it takes into account all that information when it groups students as well. So, that would be mine. But I did have a question for you, but it has eluded me now. So we'll have to come back to it when it.
You're like the kid from Harry Potter. Remember the Remember All? It's the little ball that turns red when you've forgotten something.
Yes.
And he's like, I've forgotten something, but I don't remember what I've forgotten. It's like,
yes.
Well, you'll be like one of the kids when they raise their hand and I come over and they go, I don't know what I was going to ask. I'm like, well, when you remember, you just raise your hand again. Let me know.
Just come back to me. Yeah.
Okay. So our first option there with Class Dojo was, kind of deliberate. You have time to plan. You have time to think. You have time to make seats, and it's kind of more of a longer term solution. Probably this is like a seating chart that we're going to have daily. Your next suggestion is more of a on the fly, I need to make groups now, correct?
Yes. Yeah. So we use in my classroom and a lot of the classrooms in my school, Kagan strategies, which are like very quick mix-ups of groups. So you're not going to have the same group every single day. You're going to get more engagement from students because they have different roles in the classroom, things like that. So yeah, it's a quick mix-up if you need to real fast.
Do you like that? Do you like mixing groups up regularly, or do you usually keep them fairly consistent?
So I like mixing up groups regularly when I'm not doing a project. Obviously, when I'm doing when I do projects in science, I can't have groups changing all the time. But I'll still intentionally like mix up groups every so often to give like feedback to other groups and all that good stuff. So, but I like mixing it up, and I know that's like kind of an unpopular opinion because like most of the time it's like consistency, especially in those middle school levels.
Yeah,
routine. But like I've been known in the past, not this year, but in the past, I've been known to be the guy that changes his seating arrangements like every week or two. I'm changing it up. So
yeah. You know, for my kids at least, I know that grouping and where they sit it can be an absolute battle sometimes. With the whole I can't sit with him, I can't sit there, the whole fight. Do you run into that a lot when you do your spontaneous kind of grouping?
uh yeah, I'll run into it. I mean, so the strategy I'm going to talk about here, let's get to the strategy first.
Okay, let's
Then
hear it.
I'll kind of elaborate on it. So the strategy I'm going with first, it allows for student choice. So you're not grouping them intentionally yourself. They get to group
Okay.
themselves. So the first one is stand up, hand up, pair up. You ever heard of it?
I have now.
All right. So it's real easy, real simple, right? You can do it in a bunch of different ways. What I like to do is I like playing music in the classroom a lot. So it's also an excuse for me to play my music, obviously. So
Britney Spears? Got
yeah,
it.
Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera, of course.
Hit me baby one more time while they group
Yeah.
up.
So they students raise their hands, they stand up. So stand up, hand up, and then they have to walk around the room until the music stops. Kind of like musical chairs. And then once the music
Okay.
stops, they're supposed to find the person next to them, high five them. That's your partner.
Oh,
So
okay.
stand up, hand up, pair up, high five.
All right, makes sense, makes sense. Do you ever have an issue with a kid, like, the kid that no one wants to be partner with, if that does that make sense? And they're all just, like, not giving that kid a high five. I mean, it sounds mean, but this is middle school, and middle schoolers are mean. Do you ever have an issue with that?
Yeah, I mean that happens. That's when you kind of intervene and you're just like, you know, I'm partnering you with them, or like usually you'll have like two that are kind of off to the, and you're like, oh hey, I see there's someone that doesn't have a partner over there, partner up. So
Okay, yeah. And, you know, and it's also sometimes maybe could be useful to where you have that, you know, the couple of kids who are just awesome and they don't care to work with anybody and they're just super nice people. And you can have a prior conversation with them and just be like, hey, you know, could you work with so and so? Like, I really think that you guys would do well together. I mean, you're not saying like, hey, no one wants to work with that kid. Can you work with that kid? Like, not in that context, but saying like, hey, I think you would work really well with so and so. Could you do that
yeah, do you mind
for me? I think
giving
that'd
that
be
a shot
awesome.
and seeing how it goes? Yeah,
Yeah,
I've been known to do that. I mean, I've been known to talk to
yeah.
them prior and make sure, but for the most part, I don't experience it too much. Usually they'll find someone. Usually, like, I mean, I'd say like, I've done it 5 years now.
So they all just kind of rush to like who they sort of want to be around, like
Yeah,
real
my
quick, and
favorite is
like,
as the music's playing, I tell them they can't stay in the same spot and they can't follow each other. They have to move around. So you'll see like the people that want to be partners, like walking next to each other. You're like, no, you're going the other way. Get out of here. Like,
you got to turn
yeah,
around.
you can't
Yeah.
be doing that. So, yeah, so it's a fun one. It's a quick way to kind of mix things up. Like I do it a lot whenever we're having like class discussions. We call it or science circles, where we're supposed to get in a science circle and have a discussion about something. Someone will bring up a question that we like, oh, that's an interesting question. All right, let's do a hand up, stand up, pair up real quick and see what everyone thinks. And then we'll do it real fast.
Gotcha. I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna give it a shot. I'm gonna see how it goes. I will let you know next week. Next week, I will definitely try to let you know how that went. I need an excuse sometime this week to be like, okay, let's put on Britney Spears and pair up. So
yeah, it's
noted.
great. It's great.
Noted. All right. Um, so we're now going to kind of move from this more spontaneous partnering back to another more intentional sort of strategy to group students up. Since I've been working in education, I think I've went through a variety of ways that I've grouped students, whether it be by ability or by skill or whatever. And recently I came across a method that I thought worked pretty well or within the last couple years. And it's by grouping students according to sort of behavior to a degree. And I don't mean overall behavior, maybe just behavior to that particular lesson or unit or whatever it is that you're working on. If you know it's like, okay, this kid is always like standing up, always yelling across the room, like I have to be very intentional about what it is I'm trying to accomplish. So if I'm trying to group students with a behavior or with an action in mind, then I will look at grouping them according to tiers. So I will do like a tier one, a tier two, and a tier three, right? Tier one kids, I know these kids or with whatever this skill is, this behavior, like I know they're not going to cause any issues at all. Tier two, like, okay, I know these kids occasionally can move a certain direction, right? And then tier three kids, it's like, okay, like I have to be very intentional with where these people sit. I have to be very intentional with with who these people sit with. I have to be very intentional about their kind of placement. So typically, as we all know, the bell curve, right? You got the yellow kids that make up a big portion of the room. They can sway one way or the other. Then you have the green kids that just never cause issue, but it's usually a small amount, but it can be more. Then you have that little tiny fraction of red kids that's like, okay, I've really got to figure this out. So what I may do, depending on numbers, I may look and say, okay, I'm going to pick two kids from my tier one, my green tier, and I'm going to put them over here, and I'm going to put one from my red tier with them, right? I may put one green with like two yellows, okay? Because those yellow kids, as we know, like they sway back and forth. The tier two kids, depending on who they're around, they get persuaded, right? And I want to put a green kid with two yellow kids so that they're pulled in the right way. I want to put a tier three kid with two green kids so I can try to pull them back to maybe they're a yellow at this point, right? We're moving the class in the direction that we want. So I think that has been in the past when I've done it really useful, but it does take time. It does take a lot of time. So have you ever done anything like this when it comes to grouping extremely intentionally?
Yes, I have. I actually remembered what I was going to say earlier, so I can say that now. You said this is your most recent seating arrangement, and you're super intentional about it. Whereas I'm going the opposite direction. I was super intentional at the beginning of the year, and now this last quarter, I told the kids this last term, like, "Hey, you all have done great. You can sit where you want."
Ooh,
Yeah,
yeah, that takes courage right
yeah,
there, friend.
yeah.
Dude, there's still 9 weeks to go.
I know.
Mm,
I know.
hey,
They
that's
dude, I'm telling you, we got a good group this year. It's a very good group.
I
So
do too. I do
yeah.
too. But they will not reach where they want.
Yeah.
It is not going to
Yeah. I was like,
happen.
and I always tell them like, hey, if it gets crazy, we go back to I already have the seating chart made, ready to go.
If nothing else, mine will not sit where they want because I can't find them when they do. I'm handing out papers or I'm giving dojo points and I'm looking around. Like the other day, there was a little girl. I just done a new seating chart, so I wasn't sure where everybody was yet, and I was trying to give points. And I'm like, "Where's so and so at?" And all the kids are all like, "She's right in front of you." Literally, was sitting right in front of me, like the desk immediately in front of me. And she's like, "Really?" And I'm like, I don't know. I can't find you when I have new seats or when things get switched up, I don't know where you're at.
Mhm.
So,
Well, you know what the funny thing
yeah,
is,
you're
though?
braver than me.
The funny thing is if you let them sit where they want, they will sit at the exact same spot, like, they do not move around. So they basically will make their own seating chart for the most part. They will sit in the same seats every single day.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. I've seen that happen, for the most part. Occasionally, it gets mixed up just a little
Yeah.
bit, but they usually do. Yeah, they usually try to sit roughly where they sat before, but it's because they're sitting with they know my buddy's sitting over here beside me and across from me. Like, I tell my kids, like, I want someone who you can work with and have a professional relationship with. I don't want you to sit next to your worst enemy, but I don't want you to sit next to your best friend. I want you to sit next to someone who you can have a good working professional relationship
Yeah.
with. Because I mean, dude, it's bad. Like staff meetings, there's people you can't put me next to. Right? Like, it's just true. Like when you're sitting next to people that you talk to a lot about things, it's hard to stay quiet, and it's not a knock on kids. That's what kids do, right? So yeah, behavior tiers has worked really well for me in the past. So before we move on to our number 4, I do have a brief request, and it's not Facebook this time. It's not Facebook this time. I'm going to ask that if you are listening on Apple or Spotify or any other service provider, would you please take a minute to make sure that you are following us on those service providers and also just leave us a quick rating? That helps us tremendously in the search algorithm, and it just helps tremendously for us to get our name out. So if you could do that, we would really, really appreciate it. All right, Wes, you're hitting us with number 4, man.
All right. So for number 4, again, we're going right back. We're going away from that whole intentional grouping. You've hit all the intentional grouping ones, and we're going to a spontaneous grouping again. My bread and butter, on the spot, things that you don't have to do a bunch of thinking with. You just roll with it.
Yeah, thinking's
overrated, right? We're not intentional here in Mr. Howard's science classroom.
Nah.
But as they are coming in, the good old fashioned counting them off by numbers.
Yeah, you got to throw it out there.
Yeah, sometimes you just 1, 2, 3, 4. Remember the number you are, and pair up with the people that I gave the number to.
And then you get to the issue where you get in and you notice there's only 3 number 3s, but there's 5 number 1s. You're like, I know you weren't a number 3. You're like shoving them back to number 1. I know you weren't. Or they'll rat on each other, which one of you all was not a number 3, and they're all pointing at them.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. And then you'll have you'll get in there and you'll be like, oh, I forgot which ones I counted off, and so you have to figure it out real quick.
Have you ever done it wrong where you don't think about the number of groups, but you count off the wrong system? So they all get in there and you did like 1 through 6 because you were thinking you had like sets, X number of groups.
Yep.
So then they get in there and they're all just kind of like walking around the room aimlessly, and you're like, my bad, everybody back to the hallway.
No, we gotta redo this. Yeah,
you gotta count it off again.
That has happened to me before as well. But yes, the good old fashioned counting them off by numbers. You can never go wrong with it. It's tried, it's true, it's tested. But then sometimes, occasionally, if you're not intentional about it, you'll get in there and you'll look and you'll be like, there'll be a group and you're like, oh, how did this happen?
Yeah, number 4 is an issue today. Number 4 is going to
be a problem.
Have you ever, if you want to teach kids quick math, that's the best way to do it because you can see them shuffling themselves in line.
I was about to say
trying to get, they're like all back there trying to rearrange themselves to get to where they're going to be with their buddies.
Yep.
Yeah, I've seen them it's funny because there's 2 of us. So I think the last time we did it's been a long time since we did this, but there's 2 teachers in the classroom. And I remember the last time we did this, one of us was in the room like, you're a 1, I'm taking you over and I'm sitting you down. The other one was out in the hallway, like watching them like, nope, you were in line there. You were in line there. Nope, you're not moving. You're not switching with them. Like this line stays exactly the way it was. So we were very, very disciplined about it.
Nice.
Yeah, dude, you gotta keep them in line.
Yep.
Literally.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the good old number count off, you can never I want to say you can never go wrong with that. You can go wrong with that, but it is an option. It is something that you can do. All right. Number 5, the mentor approach. That's a name that I just came up with.
Okay.
Okay. So, depending on the skill, I'm going to use a student I had the other day as an example. She came up to me and she's like, "Mr. Howard, you know how I'm like really good in this class? I'm really smart, right? So why can't I be a tutor in here?" And I'm like, "Because that's actually a great idea, right?" So when you have kids who are really good at a skill, right? Let's say I'm teaching writing claims, right? And that's a unit I'm going to be on for a minute, argumentative writing. And I have 6, 7 kids in the room who are just really good at it, or at least better than everyone else. Okay. What I can do is I can take those 7 kids and make sure that one of those kids is at each group and explain to them and meet with them. I've told them during my plan bell before and had like a little meeting of the minds, kind of a group leader type session where you're learning to be a leader and you're saying, okay, you are really good at this skill. And I want you to be a group leader in this class and help the people that's with you. Um, I have found that that works pretty well, especially when they take ownership of this idea. It's almost kind of like a PD session when you pull them in and talk about like what it means to be a leader, right? So I think that that's a good option when you're looking to have people at each group who know what they're doing and can help the others.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I absolutely agree. I've done in the past. I've had lab assistants, where they, they're really good at the science practices, and I've even gone as far to have them fill out like a small resume of what they can do, like their
Oh,
skills, and then we've done an interview before.
I've done job applications,
Yes.
but I've not done an interview. I haven't went that far, but man, that would be kind of fun. I kind of want to do
Yeah.
that now.
So
Maybe next
so
year.
we have a bell called Core Connection. And it's where our RTI happens, but it's a free period for students who aren't in RTI to they can kind of select where they go in the building. So it's kind of a free period for them to go. Like we have all kinds of things happening during that time, yoga and all kinds of stuff. And so during that time, I'll be like, Mr. Howard's interviews. And so they'll like come in, they'll sign up to come do an interview with me. I dress up in a suit and tie and everything. It's fun. So.
That's really cool. I like that. I mean, the kids actually, it becomes a true elective, right?
Yeah.
Whereas, kids have electives, but in a lot of cases, they're really not electives. It's like this semester you're taking art, and next semester you're taking gym, and there is nothing in
And that's
between.
the bottom line, because Stone Cold says so.
That's right. You have no choice. So I like that idea that you can now. Do clubs operate during that time as well, or
They
no?
can. We have drama
Any kind
during
of
that
club?
time. They put on a play every. Yeah, some clubs do.
Okay, that would be kind of cool. I mean, I think that would be good for obviously a lot of teachers. Teachers like me, where I don't do any clubs right now. I have a young son at home, and it's difficult to stay after school a lot. I also tutor in the evenings. I've talked about that before, so it's difficult for me. But like, there's clubs that I would like to do. It's just hard for me to do them after school. Now is that every day
Yep.
or is
Yep.
that
every day.
once a week? It's every
Every
day.
day. It's
Oh,
a free bell. It's embedded into our schedule. 6th, 7th, and 8th grade have it at the same time. It's similar to the UA time, and every teacher does their own thing. So I'll do sometimes I'll do trivia. Sometimes, obviously, if I have students that are after we've taken a summative assessment, they need to do test retakes. I will just pull them in during that time and do test retakes with them. So students and teachers have the freedom to do what they want during that time.
how often do they sign up? Is it like if you sign up, you're there for the week? Because that seems like a logistical nightmare if they're doing it like every
Nope.
day.
They sign up. So they're supposed to technically they're supposed to sign up during their advisory time. Um, so once a week we have our advisory class, which is that core connection time. We have to meet with our homeroom. So we meet with our homeroom during that time, and that's where we pass out papers. We do SEL lessons and stuff like that. But yeah, they'll they'll sign up during that time. We use a program called Flex Time Manager for it. So
Flex Time
Flex
Manager.
Time Manager.
And does that like account for how many students sign up for a particular class and it creates
Yep.
rosters sort of?
Mm-hmm.
So when the kids show up to your class, they know the teacher knows who should be
Yep.
in there and who signed
Mm-hmm.
up?
Yep.
Okay, I love
Yeah,
that.
it has
I
its own attendance.
absolutely
It has its
love
own
that.
attendance in it. You can set how many students you want in your class. You can set the limit. So, like, if I want 16 students, 16 spots are available. I can do a priority where I put them in and they don't get to choose. So, if they need to RTI or something, if they need to retake a test, they don't get to choose. They're going in. But it can also just be an open. So, I can set it to open and anyone can join if they want. So,
So is it first come, first serve for the students if it's open?
yes, first come, first serve. If you don't sign up, then you're out of luck. Which of course we make sure we have availability for all of them. And there is, if like students like don't sign up, if they whatever for whatever reason, we have an overflow room. So if you're not signed up for something, it automatically assigns you at that time to you have to go to a room, and then they are like, hey, you didn't sign up for something, you got to figure something out.
Okay. Okay, I like that. I like that a lot,
Yeah.
actually. Is this something that your district pays for, like a subscription for, or is this something that is an app? Like, what is
I
this thing?
believe it's a subscription, but I'm not 100% sure. I know it
Okay,
is a program that was made by someone in our district. So, like a Boone County teacher did make it. So,
okay, very very cool. Wait, is it the same program as the Hall Pass thing?
e-hall pass, no, e-hall pass is its own
Oh,
thing as
okay,
well. So,
okay. I was just wondering that because I think that's pretty cool too. There's so many good ideas that I'm gonna have to share, and probably a lot of I go to the principal with it. I'm like, "Hey, this is what we should do," and there's probably going to be a lot of teachers who hate this idea.
oh,
They're all like, "Oh God, why'd you do this?" That's because like they have to come up with their own stuff, right? Their own curriculum, their own type of class, their own. It would be more work, but man, it would be fun. Like I think it
be
would be
awesome,
cool
dude.
to.
Like, I know a lot of the English teachers do like creative writing during that time. So,
And like the teachers get to choose what they want it to be for the most part,
yeah,
right?
for the most part, yeah, it's a free period. It's not
Free hell.
necessarily, it has to be tied to an academic standard in some way. But
Sure.
again, I do like trivia, and it's just trivia, and I just science trivia. So
Very, very cool. Okay. Yep. We'll definitely continue looking into that. I love it. So, we've talked about the mentor approach for number 5. We still have one more, and that is all you. Tell us about grouping and how you handle roles.
all right, so I do a lot of projects in science, and some of them are pretty extensive, and they take a long time. You know, 5 to 6 weeks is the usual project time for us. So it's a lot of group work during that time. And because of that, I think assigning jobs to students so that they have
Agreed.
ownership of that part of the project is huge. And
Agreed.
it allows for obviously teamwork and collaboration as well. So I assign roles to all of my students. Now, you can do it differently, obviously, in whatever class you're in. I have done what I like to call the business model. So then that's a TM right there. I'm trademarking that one.
Trademark it.
Trademarking the business model.
Copyright.
Yeah. So my students, whenever they come into my classroom and get assigned into their group, their group becomes a business. I give them a name. They come up with a business name. So their business has a name. Their business has its own checking account, right? And so
So I got a question. Are you like, "Hey, Walmart, y'all need to shut up. You're being too loud."
it has to be their own unique name, so that they get some interesting ones for sure. But yes, I mean,
Target's killing y'all today.
yeah. And so they get their own names, and then I have money with my face on it because that's just who I am. And I call them Howard Bucks. And
Very
of
unique.
course, they get money for projects, which of course we do engineering design and science. So they get a project, and then there's 4 roles within the group, right? There's accountant. The accountant is in charge of all of the money, right? Purchasing the materials to build whatever the project is. There's the engineer who's in charge of designing the project. So they have to come up with the model of the project. And then there is the marketing specialist who comes up with a flyer or an advertisement for the product. And then there is a salesperson who writes a sales pitch. And then they build whatever the project is. Everyone contributes to that part, right? So everyone's doing the basic things. And what's really cool is I figured out a way to like individually assess them all, and all of the jobs actually do the same thing, but they're just doing it differently. So I can use the same rubric.
Sure.
They don't have different rubrics. And so
Gotcha.
they end up building the product though, and then they do the sales pitch, and then it's like Shark Tank. I play the Shark Tank music. They come in, they have to pitch their thing to me, and then I negotiate how much I would be willing to pay for the product. So I'll be like, best I can do is 300. And then there's a moment where they're like, if like the engineer didn't do anything, right? I'll be like, I can only do 210. I don't have a model. Your engineer didn't do the model. And the engineer's like, oh crap. And I'm like,
Gotcha.
yeah, if you want a model, it could be more. And they'd be like, all right, can we go do that real quick? And they'll go back and do that and then bring it back.
Gotcha. Okay, so you're giving them an opportunity to make it up.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And so it just also lends itself to ownership of the project and holding them accountable, putting the accountability on them. Not only am I not doing the work for myself, but I'm like messing up the team. And then at the end of every term, I have a reward shop. I do all kinds of stuff out of it. I've done all kinds of things. I've bought them pizzas before. We've done like if your team has so much money, you get a pizza party. I've done homework passes, all that stuff.
Yeah, all the
hits. Yes,
all the teacher hits.
They're all coming back.
I can't help but think like if like Kmart, like all the members are just absent that day, that would make for some great like out of business jokes. Well, Kmart's just out of business today, I guess. Putting signs on the desk.
Yeah.
Closed for renovation. Going out of business sale. Everything must go.
Yeah, and something else about the group work that I've started doing, and my curriculum coach actually told me about this at the beginning of the year. And if you have never done this, it makes group projects 1,000 times better.
Ooh.
1,000 times better.
You're setting the expectations high. You got to hit me with it now. I need to know.
It is called a scrum board.
Okay, you lost me. Elaborate.
It's a scrum board. All right. So you can, if you're watching the podcast, and you're listening, and I'm telling you, if you take nothing, I hate that I'm telling people this at the last minute because some people aren't going to get to it, and I'm telling you, it's amazing. So Scrum Board is just a way to manage projects. Engineers really do this in the field. Like I have friends that are engineers that use this. So it is literally just a big board, right? And it has like all of the things that are due in the project, and it's a way for students to keep track of it, and they get to like check off as they go through the project. Like we've done this, we've done this, we've done this. And it sounds silly.
No, I think it's great.
But it's amazing.
Is there a do you do this, just you create this yourself like on a Google Slides, or is there an app for this, or is there
Oh no.
Like, how do you
I take that scrum board, I make it out of painter's tape, man. I put them on the walls. I have painter's tape across my walls. It's like core 1 scrum board, core 2 scrum board, core 3 scrum board, and it has their team name, and then it'll say like milestone 1, and it'll have all the things they need, and then they'll mark it off. Milestone 2, all the things they need, mark it off.
So do they work on this over the course of, this is a long period of time, right?
So like, and I don't do due dates. So I'm wild. I'm crazy.
We really don't have strict due dates either, to be honest. It's just,
I have a deadline, right? And I'll tell them, like right now, our project we're doing right now, the students are doing photosynthesis, and the deadline is March 29th. Everything has to be turned in. You have till March 29th. Good luck. And I'll put everything out there. They have all the stuff they need for the whole project.
And if they don't turn it in by March 29th, is it like it's over? Like you just don't, you got a zero?
No,
How's that
no.
work?
Then you have to. Then that's when that core connection piece comes in. Then you don't get to do the fun core connections. You're going to be sitting with me in core connection, finishing the project.
So. Okay, I like that. Okay, it adds another element to it.
Yeah, you ain't going to yoga today. No open gym for you. You're in here working with me.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. Okay.
Right.
Got it. That is really cool. All right. That's fantastic. Well, I don't know about everyone else, but I hope that people were able to take away some stuff from this. I know I did. I really love the idea of the core connection stuff. I'm probably going to make a lot of people really mad with this if I ended up suggesting it and it went through. Like, I got colleagues listening to this right now who are going to listen to this. They're like, no, don't do that. It's terrible. But I think it sounds awesome, man. Like, so anyways, we do appreciate every one of you who takes the time to sit and listen to us banter every week. Please consider following us on Facebook. Leaving us a rating would be super helpful. Following us on those platforms as well. If you have friends who enjoy this kind of thing, throw it out to them, suggest it to them. We would really appreciate it. We will see you next week on Brothers on the Board, where we're going to have a very interesting little episode, and we hope that you can join us. Have a great week, and we will see you next time.